What's going on? What's going on? You hear me, OGov? How you doing there, Mike? Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks a lot. What's going on, everybody? Everybody ready for tonight? Hopefully, hopefully everybody will have a good night and make some money. I mean, it's obviously a tough little slate again today, man, with Indiana and that LA game. That's going to be a horrific game. I'm going to give it a couple moments more. What's up, Devin? How you doing, buddy? Everybody see me good? Hear me good? Looks good on my screen here. Let me know if anybody can. Okay, thanks a lot, OGov. I appreciate it. Change your lineups a million times, huh, James? Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing. All right. Let me just get right into it. Latest news. I always like to try to check. I always check about an hour before I get on here. Like an hour ago, around 4:30, I checked the Vegas lines again. So the implied totals have changed a little bit in all three games. We have Seattle, Connecticut. Earlier in the day, they had implied totals of 173 total points, with Connecticut favored by 2. Those have changed to 175 total points, and Connecticut favored by 2.5. I don't see how that, I know the game is going to be a little competitive. I still think Seattle is going to definitely win. They have it projected that Seattle is going to win, 65% chance of them winning. So go figure, the Vegas 2.5 point favorite to Connecticut. Dallas and Chicago, that game earlier had a 177 total, implied total, with Dallas favored by 7. And that has changed to a 180.5 point total, which is obviously the top one in the slate. And they have Dallas now favored by 7.5, with a 66% chance of winning the game. And then the final game, which is the ugly game of the night, also the lowest scoring game, run total, total score there for 154.5. It was 155.5, with LA favored by 17 way earlier in the day today. It has dropped to 154.5 implied totals, with LA still favored by 15. So I'm gonna start basically, guys. I'm basically gonna go over the really bad game. There's no injury report. Before I go on, no injury report. There was Elena Beard was a game time decision, and as far as I know of, at least up to right now, I did not hear any changes there. I think she is definitely not playing. She was doubtful, and so usually when someone's doubtful, chances are they're not gonna play. Everybody still hear me good? We're still good, guys? Just double checking here. All right, good. All right, so let me dive into the Indiana-LA game. I'm going to start with that one because that's the poorest game of the night. And to be totally honest with you guys, I'm not on anybody in particular in this game. I am playing the later slate as well, the 9 o'clock slate. And I definitely have only a few players there. Obviously, the games to target firsthand, at least in my opinion, Seattle, Connecticut, Dallas, Chicago, are obviously the two better games. Remember Dallas is playing on the back-to-back, but Chicago is really not that good as of late either. they have been just as bad as Indiana, but Indiana has been just really horrific. So I don't recommend anybody to play anybody Indiana LA game. But I still will go over some numbers. I mean, earlier, if anybody's seen the video earlier, I basically told you guys, I always give you guys all the team stats. And I just want to go over this real quickly. Like always, I just want to give you some more information so that you can make better decisions on your lineups. And then we'll answer. I will answer any question that you guys may have for me, and I'll do the best I can to give you a good answer for that. Point totals going in, this is horrible. Indiana is 75, as we know, they're dead last in the league. But something really important here, they've given up to their opponents pretty much 85 points per game. So that's a minus 10 right there. So they're really in a big hole there, and they're facing a team that puts up pretty much almost 80. So there's definitely an opportunity for LA to get a couple more points out of Indiana. Another thing to point out here, they are 11th, almost near last in field goal percentage, and they're coughing up 47.5%. They are 41% shooters from the floor, and their opponents are scoring on them on 47.5% shots from the floor. That's a negative 6.5%, which is also a killer. So, I mean, just with that and three-point shooting, 10th in the league, only averaging 31.1% from three-point range. Indiana is, and they're coughing up 35, almost 36% three-point shooting to their opponents. And they're facing their opponent happens to be a fairly good three-point shooting team, averaging 35.4% shooting. So they're basically right there, just ready to go for Indiana. Is LA. So I mean, just those couple things there is enough for me to say, do not bother with Indiana. Now, the only thing I could tell you, if you're going to play anybody Indiana, at least for me, you might consider Miss Pondexter, Cabby Pondexter. She's the older woman here. She was playing with the Spark. She went into one day, she decided to go into the coach's office and say, hey, you know what? I really want to get more involved in the offense. I want to get more time on the floor. They decided to, all right, we'll see what happens. A couple of days later, they released her. They decided, hey, you know what? We got enough with Sims. We got enough with Gray. We have enough with Williams. They have enough of a backcourt that they didn't have no time for Pondexter. So she may be coming in, take this as the revenge game. And who knows if they decide to play her? She's been playing 23 to 31 minutes over the course of the last 5 games. So someone to consider highly. 3,800. You pretty much need 15 or 16 to meet value, and she's putting up 16 plus in 5 out of the 6 games that she has been playing. So this is her first game back against her former team, going into LA. Hey, you know what? Perfect scenario. She may be highly owned if people are thinking to say, well, I'm thinking as far as a revenge game, she's the only one that I would consider in the entire backcourt for Indiana. I will highly recommend you guys don't choose anybody else. Everybody else is struggling. Kelsey Mitchell, who was the 2nd overall pick, has been horrific with her shooting. So I am not in favor. I'm not going to go too much over this particular game because, to be honest with you, Indiana doesn't have anything that I like. And as far as LA, you could definitely Chelsea Gray's in play. I definitely like Essence Carson here, even though she's on FanDuel as a guard. Remember, she plays small forward for LA. All right. And Essence Carson's in play. You could look for a nice little play with Williams in the backcourt, especially if this game gets out of control. She may get more time on the floor. Gray may sit down more. Okay, so definitely consider that. And then up front, hey, you got the 2 best girls that LA got. I mean, with Agumake and Parker. And let me just give you another note. Indiana, in their last 3 games, have played Minnesota, Phoenix, and Atlanta. Okay, they lost all 3 games. They only put up 34.6 points in their front court on average on those 3 games, and their guards outperformed their front court with 40.3 points per game. But then, on the flip side, the opponents, the forwards and centers for Minnesota, Phoenix, and Atlanta, especially Atlanta and Minnesota, all of them tortured them for 61 points per game on average, all 3 teams. So definitely the front court of LA is totally in play here. You could go with one, and I would say go with only one LA player, because this game is going to get so out of control that either Parker or Nneka Ogwumike is going to play well. And if this game gets out of control by the midway through the third quarter, these girls may not get to value. They may not get to 35, 40. It happened to me last night. Last night I had McCautry and Breland on one of my lineups. Everything was going great. I had Latoya Sanders on the other, on the back end of that, on my front line, and Latoya went bonkers. She got into foul trouble. It could have been even another 10 to 15 more fantasy points. The way she was playing, she was like not missing anything. And on top of that, unfortunately, Atlanta started pulling away from New York, and then what happens? This is what happens. Coaches sit players down, and of course, us DFS players, we end up getting screwed. So, and it's nothing we can do about that, because if I'm a coach, I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing. So the bottom line for me is that hopefully this game stays fairly close somehow. Indiana's front court with Candace Dupree and Natalie Achanwa, they can keep it close. I mean, I don't know if they can, but I'm not on anybody in Indiana other than the revenge factor with Pondexter. And when you come to Philip, when you're thinking about LA, go with one or two players. Either you go with Gray in the backcourt, or you go with Candace Parker or Nneka Ogwumike. That's it, bottom line. So that's the end of that. I'm not going to go over that game anymore. Let's go over to the more juicier games. The next one is Seattle and Connecticut. And this is what I have for you. I think these girls, obviously Stewart is in play, Lloyd, Howard, they're their top dogs. You definitely have to consider those girls. Okay? I mean, Stewart, top scorer on the team. Among these 3 or 4 girls, these are the top 5 scorers. When I look at this game, field goal percentage, Seattle's number 1, and Connecticut comes in number 5. Both teams are up there in scoring. Connecticut is 3rd, 86 points per game, and Seattle is 87 points per game. They're both keeping their opponents a little bit at bay. Connecticut is only, on average, giving up 82 points per game to their opponents, while Seattle is at 80. Okay, so that's a positive 7, and you could say a positive 5 if you look at it as far as Seattle over Connecticut, even though Connecticut is favored by 2.5, and that's obviously because they're at home. Okay, but I'm looking at the field goal percentage, and I like the factors that both teams are 6th and 7th in the league, and as far as 3-point shooting. And when you look at them 3-point shooting wise, Seattle is 35.2% shooting from 3, and they're coughing up to their opponents 34.5%. Very, very close, but still a 1% positive for them as far as 3-point shooting. When you look at the other side, Connecticut, they have been actually giving their opponents 35.5%, which is almost near the same as what Seattle is averaging, and they're 34.5 shooting themselves. So their opponents are out shooting them from 3. And when you look at 3, you're looking at Clark, Bird, Stewart, and Lloyd. Those are the top 4 Seattle players. So now you got Seattle with Stewart as a 3-point shooter, good field goal percentage shooter at 55%, top scorer on the team. Hands down, she definitely looks like she is a lock. Will she be someone that I believe is going to be highly owned? Could be a possibility, in this slate. But I still think, hands down, she's probably the better play here in this particular game. And then you have definitely Howard is in play for me. And like I said, Bird and Lloyd in the backcourt, simply because they are decent 3-point shooters. They get enough shots, too. They take about 4 to 5 threes a game, those girls in the backcourt. All right, so something to consider here. When you look at Connecticut, if there's any positive things, Alyssa Thomas definitely, hands down, is someone that is, that can definitely help Connecticut here against Seattle. Their front court of Shanae Ogwumike with herself, if they play the way they're capable of playing, again, let me just give you guys some more information here, all right? Connecticut, over the course of the last 3 games, have played against Atlanta, Minnesota, and Phoenix, all playoff caliber teams. All of them are very good teams. They are averaging 28.8 points per game, which is 2nd in the league in defending against guards, and they have actually neutralized the guards in those 3 games, facing definitely Phoenix with Taurasi. I mean, they didn't neutralize Taurasi a whole lot, but they were able to, keep everybody else at bay. And Atlanta, the same thing with Tiffany Hayes. But they have actually been better, 27.6 points per game. Where they're still struggling at is up front. So if you're going to attack Connecticut, of course, they are 11th in my list as far as points given up to forwards and centers at 52.3 points per game. They have neutralized the forwards just slightly a little bit over these 3 games to 51.3, but it's still an enormous amount. And I think that front court wise with rebounding, with Stewart averaging 8, Howard 6, Lloyd in the backcourt with 5, Paris with 4 coming off the bench, and even Clark at nearly 4 rebounds a game. These girls really get at it with rebounding. They're gonna, with the rebounding and the factors that you got these girls, they can actually score in Stewart, Howard up front, and then they also are very good with their field goal percentage. Howard 57%, Stewart 55 are the top 2 on the Seattle team. So the front court should definitely dominate. Should definitely dominate. Okay, so I'm leaning towards some of those girls in the front court. Those are very, very important, at least for me. If you're gonna get anything out of Connecticut as far as play, I like Jasmine Thomas today because she's had at least one great game against Phoenix. She put up, what she have here? Jasmine Thomas put up 52 spot in game 1 in 30 minutes of play. I mean, she crushed value. She was over 1 fantasy point per minute, big time. If she can perform that well, I lean towards her as the for the backcourt. I love Courtney Williams, but I'm leaning more towards Jasmine Thomas in this matchup because Jewel Lloyd and Sue Bird, you know, they are very, very good players up front in the backcourt for Seattle. So, but they're in play. I mean, everybody here, this is going to be a very, very good game. I'm glad it's the first game of the night because last night's game, the 10 o'clock game, that was just way too long. It was like 12 something before the game was over. And what do we have here? So what else I have for you guys to make decisions on? So this game, man, this is definitely a good game. I mean, point factors, 4 or 5 players. Seattle has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that average at least 8 points or better. Between those 5 girls, Clark, Bird, Howard, Lloyd, and Stewart, they're averaging about 67 floor points a game. So you're at least getting almost 70 points from those girls up front. Something also to take into consideration. While Connecticut's top scorers are Shanae, Courtney Williams, Jasmine Thomas, and Alicia Thomas, and Jonquil Jones. Between them, they got 56 points per game. So that is 11-point difference from the studs on Seattle side and Connecticut side. I just want you guys to see how I go about deciding on my lineups. Listen, again, nothing's set in stone. I don't win all the time. I'm not winning GPPs all the time. As you guys know, I do play mostly GPPs. I would say 90% of my games I play are GPP. So I like taking the risks, but I don't win all the time. Last night I did fairly okay. I did cash with 2 lineups out of my 4. One lineup scored a 218. The other one was about a 204. I did have one, but they weren't in the GPP. Okay, the GPP one, I think I had a 204, something like that. At one point I was doing well, but again, Atlanta started blowing out these guys, and I got screwed with Angel McCoughtry and Jessica Breland sitting most of the second half, pretty much. So it really hurt me. And then I had a bad. I had Monique Curry as a value sneaky play, and she didn't put up enough for me in the guard spot. I had 2 guards that I took a gamble on. But I mean, again, it's not, you're not going to win all the time. The key for me is I want to be consistent, and I'd rather try to share with you some of the steps I take. And this is what I go through on a regular basis, even for MLB, and it's even worse for MLB. I spend at least about 2.5 hours to 3 hours a day just deciding on what I'm going to do with MLB with my lineups. That's why I'm not even doing MLB videos at this moment, because this is a little bit more easier for me. I can get this done in about an hour and 20 minutes, but MLB takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours, sometimes more, depending on the slate. And I prefer to play more the 2 or 3 game slates, like the after hours or the 8 o'clock. I barely ever play main MLB because it's just too many games for me to actually analyze, But anyway, let's move on. Let me just give you give you some more tips, some more stuff for some more data that I found out. Dallas and Chicago, man, interesting game here as well. I mean, Chicago is playing at home, and Chicago is, you can't sleep on Chicago. That's the whole thing. You got to be careful with Chicago. Their backcourt is a nice little backcourt with Vandersloot and Quigley, but basically that is it. Because up front, I mean, they really, really suffer up front with Dolson. It's not enough. And then I don't know what's going on with Cheyenne Parker. She didn't play the other day. That really killed me. I had her in most of my lineups, and she only played 5 minutes. I expect her to play more than 5 minutes today because she's got to play against this Dallas front court that's just truly, really, really good. But let me just go over. I want to just give you some more analysis on some of the matchups. So again, this game here, Dallas, in the last 3 games, okay, this will help you guys a whole lot. In the last 3 games, Dallas has played Washington, which was last night, New York Liberty, and Seattle. Okay, in those 3 games, Dallas front court has put up 73.6 points per game. 73. That is incredible. 73.6 points per game. Granted, Cam Page had that huge game and had another fantastic game last night, but nonetheless, altogether, they are playing well. This team is playing really well right now. And their guard play hasn't been good, 21 points per game during those 3 games, but their opponents, they've kept them relatively where they've been at. They're averaging 48, pretty much 47.8 points per game they're giving up to their opponents throughout the season. And in this 3-game stretch, they've only given up 48 points per game. So they're basically right there at average. So none of these teams were able to do any damage to Dallas up front. Okay, so definitely going into today with them facing Chicago, who right now is dead last as far as defending forwards and centers. I mean, it's a piece of cake, right? You're saying to yourself, well, you know, I got to figure I'm going to have to play a couple of those guys from Dallas up front. So, I mean, Liz Cambage is definitely in play. What does she have left after a 63 fantasy point performance and an 80 somewhat the other day? She probably has enough left. But I'm probably more leaning towards, with Dallas, maybe more Azurá Stevens, possibly Kayla Thornton a little bit more. Don't be surprised if this game gets out of hand and you see, you know, a little bit of Aerial Powers, who hasn't played much. I mean, so, but that's a significant, you know, stat there to really, really take a look at. So definitely focusing on the front court there. And when you come in, when I look at Chicago front court over the course of the 3 games they have played, which they all lost. They played Seattle, lost that game. They played New York, and they played Washington. They gave up to their opponents 62 points per game up front. And Dallas has been averaging 73.6 over the 3 games. So it comes to show you that Dallas should definitely dominate up front. And we should definitely be focusing on some girls up in the front court. Doesn't have to be Liz Cambage, because obviously to put these numbers together and crunch them in, that is obviously the most difficult part of daily fantasy sports. So, I mean, I would say, you know, you could definitely fade her and go with some other stud, you know, forward or center in one of the other games. Obviously, maybe more than likely Seattle and Connecticut, like Alyssa Thomas or Brianna Stewart, as opposed to Liz Cambage, and then maybe focus on Miss Stevens or maybe Miss Thornton or maybe even Powers. What else do I have here? All right, so that's pretty much where I'm at. Significant, and you know, another thing, key rebounding. Like I said, 36.6 rebounds a game for Dallas. They're giving up basically to their opponents 32, so that's a positive 4.5. That's a good spot for them because they're second in the league in rebounding, and they're facing Chicago, who is ninth, pretty much in the bottom tier. So that's significant when you think about the rebounds. We're looking at those girls like Cambage, you know, rebounds quite a well. Again, just to go over some numbers for Dallas before I start looking at what you guys have asked me. Cambage, 21 points per game, taking 13 shots a game. And Diggins Smith at 19 points per game. She puts up about 14 shots a game. So definitely those girls are important. Of course, Alicia Gray is doing very well, taking 7 shots per game on average and averaging 9.2 points. And she does other things like she can shoot the 3 at 31%, and she actually takes 4 shots there. Kayla Thornton has been good from 3, averaging about 3 or 4 3-pointers per game and shooting at a 34% clip. And she's also tops in field goal percentage also for Dallas at 45%. So, I mean, you're looking at a number of things, man. Let me look at some of your guys' questions, man. Cheyenne Parkers, let me see. I got to slow this down a little bit. Let me see. Cooper tonight. Okay, hold on. Let me just get up to the top, guys, man. I know I throw these other stats at you guys. I know it might be a lot to take in. And this is why I want to just do it and give it to you, and then you can take notes, or you can look at the video right after, try to lock it down, wrap up around 6:45. It gives everybody at least 15 minutes to look at their lineups and see if they want to make any changes. Okay, who is I'm looking here. Sorry guys, always possible. Shoots on fire. Yeah, Gumake is getting minutes for Connecticut. Yeah, I would think so. She better. Shania Gumake should get more minutes than what she has gotten in those 2 games. I don't know why. She did only play a few minutes in those other games. Obviously, it was because those games. I think those 2 games, Alyssa Thomas didn't play, and they were really running away from them. Going back real quickly just to look at that. Yeah, those were blowout games. 184-70 Seattle the first game around, and the first game around 103-92, second game 84-70. So that obviously was the reason why maybe she got a little bit of foul trouble, and the game got so far away from Connecticut that they actually had her sit a little bit more. Miss Williams, yes. Miss Williams for me is a little value play. All right. If you're looking at the Indiana-Las Vegas game, who asked that question? I'm sorry. That was Mike. Mike Fincher, yes. I think she's someone to consider as a value play. Miss Williams here, like I said, Pondexter in this matchup. Those 2 girls and Essex Carson. As a matter of fact, while I have it right here, I'll just share with you who I really think I like the best. Definitely out of the 2 girls here, Lloyd and Sue Bird are definitely in play in this game. I kind of like Sue Bird a little bit better in this matchup. Between the 2 backcourt mates of Connecticut, definitely like Jasmine Thomas better in this matchup. You save $500 there. Take that and move it on to somewhere else. On the lower end of this game, Strickland and Banham are definitely in play. I also like if this game, Clarendon might get some time. All right, so she's one of those low value, 3,300. You only need about 15. She can get you that. On the forward side of the ball here, Stewart definitely in play, Alyssa Thomas definitely in play, Howard definitely in play, Shania Gumake, and it's all a matter of who you want to play up front. I think at Howard and Stewart, they just got a better advantage as far as rebounding, field goal percentage, block shots, you name it. Stewart can shoot the 3. She's very good from the foul line as well. So I take the advantage on the front court. Definitely like Seattle better than Connecticut. But I have Alyssa Thomas in one of my lineups, to be honest with you guys, and I do have Brianna Stewart in my others. So I definitely like those girls. On the bottom end here, I'm not on Jonquil Jones. I like Alicia Clark. Okay, Alicia Clark is definitely in play for me. And if this game, for whatever reason, gets a little out of control, hey, you got to consider Paris, Lewis, maybe even Langhorne. Low value plays, definitely. Dallas, Chicago. Diggins Smith is in play. She didn't play well last night, but she's in a very good matchup here today. She should be able to do well against Chicago. Chicago is really not that good in their backcourt as far as defending guards, but they have good players in Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley. I like Vandersloot the best here today. I normally don't take Vandersloot, but I definitely like her here today. Other than her, Alicia Gray is definitely always in play. Her price has gone up a few $100s, but I think she's still a fine play here today, especially if this game gets out of control. I see her playing more, maybe Diggins Smith sitting a little bit more. Kayla Cooper is definitely in play. I have her actually on one of my lineups as well, to be totally honest with you guys. I think Cooper is in play because I got a feeling this game is going to get out of control, and you got to throw in there someone for Chicago if this game definitely gets to 15, 16, 17 point difference. So I like Kayla Cooper here. And you can also consider Kayla Davis only if this game, if you really believe, is going to be, a blowout. And that's tough to take. I'd rather take the chances with Cooper. All right, forwards. Liz definitely in play. Glory Johnson's in play. She's been playing well. This is not a bad matchup. Anybody in the front court for Dallas would be probably in good shape here against Chicago. Chicago is very poor up front in defending forwards and centers. And as I already gave you, these guys have been dominating 73 points per game up front against their opponents over the course of the last 3 games. So definitely Dallas up front. They are definitely clicking as a team, as a unit. Azare Stevens definitely in play. I like her better than Glory Johnson. Kayla Thornton definitely like her. Dawson could be a little, you could give it a stab there for Chicago, but I kind of like Cheyenne Parker. I'm hoping that she's going to play today. I do have her in about 2 of my lineups, so I definitely like Cheyenne Parker. And then on the bottom half here, I do have in one, especially in the late night, I do have Nador as one of my sneaky plays because I got a feeling this game is going to get out of control and she's going to probably see more than 15, 20 minutes. but I could be wrong, and that's just my gut feeling on it. All right. And then, of course, I already told you over here, Candace Parker or Gumake, either one is good. I'm not on anyone else. If you want to get a value play down here, I would say watch out for Stephanie Mavunga. She may get some time, or Maria Vadiva for LA. If the game gets really out of control, she may see some time on the floor, and I think that's going to happen. I really believe that LA is really going to destroy this team. And then, but if you want to ride one of the studs here, which I don't prefer you guys do, you could definitely go with Candace Parker or Oneka Gumake. You should be fine. At guard, definitely Grays in play. I'm not on anybody here, even though one of these girls could have a great game for Indiana. They're going to need to, but I'm not on them, and I don't advise anybody to be on it. I definitely like Essence Carson. Remember, Essence Carson plays small forward. She's not a guard, but she's definitely in play. For me, I like the revenge game factor with Pondexter, and she's been playing well for Indiana, and she's playing a former team. Hey, you know, chances are she may be a little chalky, but sometimes being a little chalky is not bad, because that means that you're just going to have to find value in one other area that somebody else does not have, and that's what's going to get you over the top. All right, and of course, Miss Williams is in play, which we already discussed. So that's pretty much where I'm at with everything. I'm going to go back and look at see what you guys have asked me. Cheyenne, high potential, low ownership option. Yeezy, yes. I think I like Cheyenne Parker. I know that I'm one of those few percentage ones. I don't know if she's going to be highly owned. I think in the late slate, the 9 o'clock game, with the two game slate that's at 9 o'clock for FanDuel, she may possibly be a little chalky, but maybe not on not in the main slate. Okay, James asks if Candace Parker plays minutes this game. Yes, she will play. And like I said, if Indiana could keep the game close and you happen to have a Candace Parker, that's exactly what you want. You want Indiana to keep this game close. That's what makes it exciting, DFS. And then when it does it does turn for the worse, like it did for me when Atlanta started pulling too far away from New York, I was like, oh man, I guess I'm done. I got up to 138th place. I was like, hey man, I'm making a run here tonight again. And next thing you know, I finished in 500 and something place, and I knew it as soon as the girls were sitting that was going to be the end of it. And as soon as I started noticing that I had Ariel Atkins and Monique Curry in my backcourt. Ariel finished up fine. I think she gave me like 23, 24 fantasy points. I expected a little bit more. I was hoping for her because of the upside that she will have one of those explosive 30, 40 fantasy point games, but it didn't happen. But Monique Curry definitely was a disappointment. But again, you know, I'm gonna say these things to you guys. I'm gonna play some. I'm playing some of the ladies that I mentioned here. I'm definitely playing them. I'm letting you know which ones I think are possible good plays, and then I got to crunch them down and make a decision on 7 girls that I'm gonna play. So it's a difficult task. Okay, Mike says he believes Dallas will be tired from 3 games in 4 nights. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a scary thing. Like I said, Chicago, man, don't sleep on Chicago. They have those moments where they play. Chicago plays fairly well. I think I mentioned this in my earlier video. Chicago has played at home and beaten at their home court Minnesota, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Phoenix, and New York. And the first 4 that I mentioned, all are playoff caliber teams, besides Vegas that is trying to get in. So they have played and they beat, and so you definitely can't play and take a chance with Chicago. They have those moments where they get up for games, and considering they're playing Dallas, a high scoring team, one of the better teams in the league, anything can happen. But I am banking on Dallas front court. I'm looking at the numbers, I'm crunching things down, and what I see is that Dallas should be able to win this game easily. Parker and Achanwa. Trying to decide between Parker and Achanwa. Well, you know what? If you're going to play any one of those 2 girls in that particular game, who's asking that? I'm sorry. James Perkins. James, I think my thought on that is I think that if you're gonna play any of those 2 girls in that game, I probably would take the chance and go Candace Parker and hope and pray that Indiana keeps the game close. But either or would be fine. You can go with Natalie Achanwa, and if she happens to ball well and Indiana keeps the game close, because remember, Indiana is not that bad in the front court defending front court players, but they're just bad as a team in whole. They don't have enough offensive weapons to keep games close, especially with teams that score well. And LA scores very well. They're well enough that they should be able to beat Indiana. Stevens. Yep. Agree. Late night. James, my favorite play for the late night is definitely to stick with the Dallas front court. I love Stevens and I love Kayla Thornton for sure in that late night slate. And I like Pondexter for sure in that late night slate. I'm definitely penciling her in. She's in every. I made 3 lineups for that 9 o'clock GPP, and I definitely have her in all 3. Totally honest with you. I definitely have her because I'm taking the gamble that even if she's chalky, which I believe she will be, I'm at least in it. If she happens to have a massive game, then I benefit just as well as anybody else. So sometimes being with a 3 or 4 chalk players doesn't, all right, you may come up with a 10, 15 player tie. My last big win, I was tied for first with 8 people at a NBA after hours game. With 8 people, but I still walked away with $3,900 in change. So I mean, yeah, granted it was for $30K I believe for first place, and I didn't get it, but I did finish in first. And sometimes some of these games you're gonna have, especially late night 2 or 3 game slates, you're gonna have obviously players that are chalky. You gotta have that one, just that one that you need that's a little bit different that can get you over the top. Essence Car. Yes, Essence Carson I definitely like, especially in a late night slate. I definitely have her in, and I have her in one of my lineups for sure in the main slate. I definitely like Essence Carson's. I definitely like her here today. Scotty P mentioned Powers. Yeah, I know. I'm sure you're talking about Aerial Powers. Aerial Powers only, like I said earlier on here when I got started, I think she'll be a factor if this game gets out of control. Because considering that these guys have played 3 games in over 4 nights, I can see where she's getting some time. She may even get some time today. She hasn't been getting any. But tonight she may get some time even early. Maybe right away in the second quarter, she may get a few minutes. And if she shoots and she gets involved in the offense, then, who knows? She may be in there a little long, and especially if the game's out of control. But I think she's more of a good play if we know for sure Dallas. I mean, everything is pointing to Dallas definitely dominating Chicago. But, man, it's just so – this WNBA is not like the NBA, man, at least for me. I mean, I had a great NBA season. WNBA, I did better last year in WNBA than I've done so far this year. It's been really, really tough to really line up and get a solid lineup. I mean, it's really, really tricky because of coaching, players not coming in. They're getting, coaches playing players only for a few minutes when they should be playing 10, 15 minutes, not playing a certain day. It's just a lot of crazy stuff, man. And it's hit or miss. You got some players that definitely shoot ball, are pretty consistent. And then one day you happen to take them and they're not consistent at all. They just don't play well. Good luck to you too, Mike. Good luck to you too. Is Jonquil Jones worth the risk? Asked Kicks Good. I'm not on Jonquil Jones, but today, this game being a fairly competitive game, she may just have a good game. I think she's averaging about 20 something fantasy points in the 2 games. And this is me just just thinking when I looked at it way early this morning. And let me just double check with her again. Jones. Seattle, she had 20 here in 21 minutes. The last game and the previous game, 21 and 25. Yeah, so I remember correctly. Yeah, she's averaging about 20 points against this team. I mean, she doesn't, she hasn't shown a high ceiling as of late. I mean, look, as you can see, she got here 34, 35 spot and a 32 in the previous game against Atlanta. But that's basically it. She hasn't really hit in the 40s. She hit the 40s here. Granted, apologize that she did get that here against Indiana, but that's Indiana. 41 against Indiana in 27 minutes. Yeah, but she doesn't have a high ceiling. You can get 30 plus from her at that price. I mean, that's 20. You're talking about 27, almost 28 fantasy points to pay off 5x here. And she's averaging 21. So, I mean, I don't think the numbers don't give me enough, you know. Dallas will dominate, that's for sure. Dallas will dominate, you know. But again, do not sleep on Chicago. Very scary game for Dallas because they have played 3 out of 4. I truly believe they're going to beat them and they're going to make it look easy. But I've seen this, if you watch the games closely, Chicago has those moments where they play some of the good teams fairly well. So you never know. But I think, hands down, these are some really, really key players. Let me just, before I get going, because we got about 17, 18 minutes before lock, I'm going to double check my lineups. But I'm going to give you guys real quickly, for the guys who are still here, best FPPM plays, at least according to my Fantasy Cruncher here, which is a great software. Skylar Diggins Smith, out of the girls that I like, this is my pool of 24 players. These are my guards, and these are the girls that I was considering for tonight. And I already have narrowed it down already to whom I really like the most. I've already shared some of those with you. But fantasy points per minute, the top dogs here are Diggins Smith at 1 fantasy point per minute for tonight. Jewel Lloyd is at .93. Courtney Vandersloot at .94. And we have also Jasmine Thomas, which I mentioned to you as well. She's up there highly at .89. So those are the best plays there for fantasy points per minute. On the forward side of the ball, we have Cam Page definitely on top with 1.43 projected fantasy points per minute. That is massive. Stewart at 1.23. Candace Parker at 1.24. Nneka Ogwumike at 1.11. Alyssa Thomas at 103. And Shanae Ogwumike at 110. And even Cheyenne Parker all the way down here as far as price. She has a projection of 1 fantasy point per minute tonight. And I definitely like her going into tonight, and I'm hoping that the coaches allow her to play because they need her to play against this team. And then Alicia Thomas here is at she's not high on FPM. The best play. And then Azurá Stevens at .96 is a good number too. So you got quite a nice FPPM plays here for tonight as far as on my cruncher. All right, for the girls that I have in play. And again, just real quickly, always go back to it real quickly when we shut down here. I like Cambridge, Stewart, Park. The 2 Ogwumike sisters are in play. Thomas, Howard, Azurá Stevens, Stephanie Dawson, Kayla Thornton, Alicia Clark, and Cheyenne Parker. And I already told you who were my favorites. And then at guard, you got Smith, Lloyd, Vandersloot, Gray, Bird, Thomas, Alyssa Gray, Essence Carson, Rachel Banham, Cappy Poundexter, Shakina Strickland, and Laisha Clarendon. All right, so those are the girls that are in play, at least for me here at DFS Zone. All right, guys, that's pretty much it, man. 6:45. I like to give you guys a little. Now, for the people that are here, other news is I did open up today. I started today a Facebook page. So there's a DFS Zone Facebook page when you guys get a chance. I plan to, I just started it today. I only put a banner, but I plan to put up my scoring. Any of my results are going to be on there. I want people to see where I come from. Instagram, I have that already. I've been doing that for quite a while already. I started it on Twitter, and but I have the Facebook page. We're going to have that. I'm going to have articles in there time to time. I'm going to put little streams, shorts, video streams of the live streams. I may even do some live streams on there once in a while as well. So a lot of good things coming that way there as we progress into the NFL season, NBA season, and of course wrapping up the WNBA season. So definitely wish all of you guys to make an effort, come over, and actually definitely like the page and follow. I would appreciate that. Other news, tomorrow is a 2-game slate. There will be a 2-game slate video. I will not have a live stream because the one game is at 3 and the second game is at 10 p.m. So that's not going to happen, So there's no live streaming tomorrow. I plan to do as much live stream as possible. I always wanted to do it, and I feel that it's just a good way to build the community up and to be able to be involved with you guys. You guys get to know me a little bit better, and I get to know you. So other than just you guys hearing me on the video, seeing me on the video. So so definitely no live stream tomorrow. There will be a video out tomorrow or later on, in the middle of the night today for tomorrow's slate. And then Sunday, I'll go back to live streaming It's a 4-game slate Sunday. Nice, good 4-game slate starting at 3 o'clock. I'm thinking around 1:45. I will put up the time on YouTube, on Instagram, on my Facebook page, and as well as on Twitter. So you'll be able to get it on all my social media of what time I'm going to get started. I'm thinking 1:45 to about 2:30, 2:45, and that gives everybody still 15, 20 minutes, and we'll be able to chit-chat a little bit longer because it is a 4-game slate. And that's basically it, guys. So I hope you liked the video, man. I hope I'm giving you enough insight, giving you some analysis, giving you some important information to be able to hopefully give you guys. The only thing I care about is everybody having a little bit more success, including myself. And I consider myself at least a decent, consistent player, 65, 66% of the time. So I mean, don't make tons of money because I'm not a shark, but I feel that I know enough. And as far as the research I do, I think it's enough to be able to help others who don't have the time to do it. All right, guys. So again, I appreciate you guys. I definitely like that you guys are coming out and are listening to me, are interacting with me. We're communicating, we're talking, and let's just keep it going. All right. So I wish you guys a lot of luck tonight, man. Friday night, let's get this money, man. I'm doing the main slate, and I have 3 or 4 liners for the 9 o'clock slate. And I actually went in and to my DK account, which I normally play only NFL there. I have money there still as well. I decided, heck, man, I am going to play a little bit of NBA on there, which is totally different. But I made 4 lineups and 4 different tournaments for there tonight as well. So hopefully I make money on both sites, and that's that, man. But again, thank you for you guys coming out, man. I appreciate it, man. God bless everybody. Have a good night. Enjoy your Friday. And again, look out for that video tomorrow. And of course, live stream will be back again on Sunday, man. Again, man, just God bless everybody. Good luck tonight, and peace out.